Everywhere except America.
I say, Daniel.
Oh, I'll buy you one.
In blue.
The problem with the Persuaders was it was, I think, slightly ahead of its time. It was tongue-in-cheek English humour, and the Americans weren't quite sure how to take it.
The unexpected failure of the Persuaders in America meant Roger Moore, now age 46, was free to accept the role of a lifetime.
Mr. Bond. James Bond.
Careful, William.
Moneypenny, a feast for my eyes.
What about the rest of you?
Shaken, but not stirred.
The one thing I was a little nervous about was saying, my name's Bond, James Bond. Because I kept hearing him, my name is Bond. James Bond. And I thought, I can't just say it Scottish.
As an actor, to go up there and seriously, in a Bond film, someone says, and what's your name? And you go, Bond. James Bond. And you could see all these things in Roger. Fear, humour, pride, everything, all in one line.
My name's Bond. James Bond.
I know who you are, what you are, and why you have come.
He brought charm, he brought humor, he brought a light romance, and those elements are what he brought to the role. And so Bond underwent an evolution at that time. It evolved into a different role, and I think it was just right for the 70s.
Sean played the throwaway line, not quite as deliberately as I do. I sort of tip the audience off and say, here comes a joke. It was a surprise coming from Sean. That was the difference between us.
It's the time before we leave for lesson number 3.
Absolutely. There's no sense in going off half-cocked.
I thought he was Bond. I totally accepted him as Bond. I mean, he was my Bond. I had to kind of be in this clinch with him, and I remember thinking, this is very embarrassing. You know, this is the Saint. And everything was fine until Louisa came in and said, no, Roger, you don't hold a lady like that. You hold her like this. And of course, he suddenly went totally stiff, you know. But we were doing very well till Louisa came along. Unfortunately, those are the shots they used.
It wasn't until I was on my way to the first press screening of Bond, I suddenly got nerves. Oh dear, this is not the time to get nerves. And after about 5 minutes, I said, well, they don't like it, they don't like it. You know, I'd go back to modelling sweaters.
There is nothing to compare with the pressure of being the new James Bond. The publicity could destroy you, let alone making the picture. And he was in such great physical condition, he stood up. But even he wobbled, I'm telling you. It was tough.
I think it went reasonably well. It must have done, because they asked me to do 6 more.
With Roger's Bonds, I think when we wrote the script, you know, we were very keen to hit exactly the right balance between violence, humour, and, you know, the personality. You couldn't make him too soft, although there were softer sides to his character. But I think that in Bond you have this contrast. You know, he has to be a killer. You know, he's got a license to kill, and you must never forget that. I remember a scene on the edge of the cliff when the car is balanced precariously on the edge and the villain is in the car. Roger said to me, he said, I don't think I should kick the car over. He said, I don't feel that's me. And I said, I think it is. This man killed your best friend.
You left this with Ferrara, I believe.
And I think you would do it. You would just give the car a shove and over it would go. And everyone these days, they all say, that's a great turning point in his Bond career.
Had no head for heights.
Armed with a macho image, Roger Moore took advantage of the 18-month intervals between Bond films to star in a string of big-budget action movies. But then, in 1980, Roger Moore surprised everybody when he deliberately sent himself up in the spoof comedy The Cannonball Run.
It's a very bizarre film to watch this guy who's supposed to be a Jewish lad pretending to be Roger Moore, being terribly British in that gruff way that Roger Moore has, is bizarre.
I'm looking at my son, Seymour Goldfarb Jr., son of Seymour Goldfarb, God rest his soul, and heir to the Goldfarb girdle's fortune. And what is he doing? Walking around, acting like he was some goy movie star named Roger Moore. And for this, I sent you to the best schools. And now, this. The sleep-in maid found it under your pillow this morning. What is the meaning of this?
The meaning, Mother dear, is a quick death. I warned you not to interfere in my affair.
Seymour, put that away. It's liable to go off.
I'm terribly sorry, Mother, but you know too much.
No.
Zeig in, Mama.
I thought it was a hell of a brave decision for him to make. But you know what? His nature is to have fun, and as a matter of fact, I think he kind of got a kick out of it, of poking fun at himself.
I enjoyed doing Cannonball Run because I was setting myself up. It wasn't James Bond. It was Roger Moore. So it was this character who thought he was Roger Moore, which is a joke.
I must warn you, I'm Roger Moore. Who? Roger Moore.
He played it dead straight. And the comedy came out of the situation, of the dialogue that was written and things and so on and so forth, and the fact that he was spoofing himself. He just played it 007 right down the line.
Roger's comedy skills were also being seen more and more in the later Bond movies.
I trust you can handle this contraption, Q.
It goes by hot air.
Oh, then you can.
The Americans certainly like the jokier Bond more than the tough Bond with the throwaway lines.
007. My God, what's Bond doing?
I think he's attempting re-entry, sir.
A critic in Time or Newsweek said that in one of the Bonds I looked like a floor walker who'd been 3 times to Switzerland for a facelift. I only had 2.
A View to a Kill, I think probably Roger knew it was his last Bond. But it didn't affect his professionalism at all. He still gave 100%. He didn't want to go out on a weak movie.
I see you're a woman of very few words.
What's there to say?
I was 56, and I was starting to worry that Bond girls would have to become Bond old-age pensioners, to match up with me.
It was the right time for Roger to leave the series, and I think he'd admit that you can go on and on and on. He was probably good for another 2 or 3 movies, but I think he wanted to get out when he was on top, and that's the time to go.
He told me during his last film that he was tired beyond words of making films.
In 1989, after 35 years' absence, Roger Moore announced his return to the stage in the musical Aspects of Love.
It was a crazy idea for one brief, shining moment of madness.
Because I'm free, nothing's worrying me.
I went along with it until we were at the stage rehearsal where we were about to go with the orchestra, and I thought, I ain't going to be able to do this.